Today I have this Worx 40 volt chainsaw. It doesn't have the right bar on it. It's a 12-inch bar, but this is a little 8-inch bar that I had off my string trimmer. And the other bar that came with this unit, the little wheel here at the end, the fingers or the bar split. So I can't find a 12-inch bar anywhere. I can find 16, 18, but I can't find a 12-inch bar specifically for this Worx. Let me show you here. This is how you take the blade and adjust it. It has this like cam gear that's like spring. There's a spring in behind it. Get my fingers in here. And so when you tighten it up, it pushes against this piece that's attached to the bar. Get it in a good light here. So there's a screw. There's a screw on the back that you unscrew to attach it. And the bars that I've been looking at, the center section here where my thumb is has to be a specific width. So that piece, as you can see, it fits right in that groove. And then the two holes on the bar, which all chainsaws have, these are oiling holes over here, right here, and right here. The screw is a certain size, and it has to fit in these holes. So I've got a couple of 12-inch bars, Husqvarna, and I think a Cobalt. Well, this center section and these two holes are way too big. So this little 8-inch blade that goes on my string trimmer, it's a little chainsaw attachment. This bar, actually, this bracket fit right on there, and you have to have it positioned this direction. That way the cam gear on the cover will push, and this little tab that sticks up right here, this is what that little cam gear pushes against to keep tension on the blade. So that way when the blade is installed, it keeps tension on the chain so the chain doesn't fall off. Now, I have had a few issues with this bar and the 12-inch bar that came with this thing. When you're cutting some of this smaller stuff, and let me show you some of the stuff. This is some of the stuff I've been using cutting with this blade. And the chain, I've just sharpened the chain, so the chain is good. But when you're cutting little stuff like this that's close to the ground, and it's just like a small little thing, you get it at an angle, whatever, and it just kind of kicks the chain off. And as you can see, this piece here is a good sized piece that I made a cut on. But all these little pieces like this that I've been cutting that are close to the ground, if you get it at a weird angle, because you don't want to cut it in the ground because that dulls your chain, but when you're getting at an angle just enough to slice it so the little limb will fall off, sometimes the chain comes off, sometimes it doesn't. There's been other times where after you've made a few cuts, if you're paying attention, the chain loosens up, so you have to take the cover off, pull the bar tight, and then tighten it back up again, because it loses like its tension. And I don't know if it's the bar or because the 12-inch bar that was on there was doing the same thing. So here's some of the bigger stuff that I've cut. I haven't cut these down yet. I trimmed them up a little bit, but this is just with the 6-inch, 8-inch bar that I'm using right now. I cut this with. Like I said, the 12-inch bar worked really well. till that little sprocket at the end. That's where the chain comes over at the end. It split when it hit when the tree fell. It pinched it. So I was trying to push it off to the side. It got hung up in the brush in the top of the tree, and the chain was still moving when it did it, and I guess it pulled on. It had enough tension on it to where it pulled back on the sprocket and forced the bar to spread open enough for the chain to just kind of fall out. But that 8-inch bar that I have now, let me walk back up here. But as you can see, I've cut a lot of stuff. There's a bunch more stuff I've got to help cut. But, so, I mean, even pieces like this, where I've sawed them, they come down. That's a brush pile I cut yesterday. There's another brush pile up there. There's another brush pile over there. That big one up there in front of the barn. That's like 3 or 4 days. But keeping oil in there, keeping your chain tight is the biggest thing. But like I said, it got hung in a tree and it split this piece right here at the end. And this is I guess it's a sprocket, but it's supposed to move, really easy, because that's where the chain gets most stress, is at the end here. So, but, so let me tell you a little bit about this thing. So it's a 40 volt, just a standard, I think these are 2 amp hour batteries. Yeah. So it's got two, and this came as a kit. Now I didn't buy this kit. My sister had bought this probably 1st of August. She bought this 1st of August for herself, and I was using my little weed eater attachment, using this 8-inch blade, and like a little pole saw is what it is. I'm trying to get my words right. But anyway, I was using a pole saw. Well, I broke the gearbox in it. It started slipping really, really bad. So I can't use this. But when this bar broke, and like I said, I'm trying to find it. So anyway, enough about that. But let me tell you about the saw. So the key to this thing is, a lot of the electric chainsaws, you can't push down too hard when you're cutting something, because you'll stall the motor out and you have to stop and everything else, and it's just kind of a hassle. Whereas like a regular chainsaw, you can just power through it, because they're like 2, 3, 4 horsepower depending on what size of engine they have and what brand, So basically what I've been doing with this, I've been keeping this chain really sharp. Just after, a day or so, like I was out here today, I sharpened it just a little while ago. The other saw, even though it feels sharp, I always just like to put a little edge on it. But, so the key is, when you're using this, is just to let the teeth cut the wood, and don't put much pressure on it. Just kind of let it go down and let it dig into the wood, because if you try to stall it, it'll stall out, and you could be halfway through a cut and the piece is trying to bend, and pinch the saw or whatever. But the key is just not to put pressure on it. Let the chainsaw, the actual chain, cut into it and use that pressure. Don't ever force it, because my next point is battery life. So with the 2 amp hour batteries, both of these, they're fully charged. It has a little button right here you can push. It'll show you. And also when you pull the trigger, you pull the trigger, the lights come on for the charge indicator. And as you can see here, so it's not the fastest. So runtime, I would say anywhere from 20, 25, maybe 30 minutes, maybe. It just really depends on how much you're using. Like when I'm cutting these, like this big stuff, you know, it takes a lot more time. Like say this piece here, you know, that's a good chunk, good size piece right there. It's probably 6, maybe 7 inches, maybe 6, something like that. But anyway, that takes time, and that's what uses your battery up. Cutting all these little pieces, you know, like this little piece right here, doesn't take nothing, you know, a couple of seconds through. But when you're cutting like bigger pieces like this, and I have another tree up there, it's probably 7.5, maybe 8 inches, because I had to make 2 cuts with that. I had to cut it on one side and then come around the other side. I cut it like this on one side, and then I came around the other side and cut it down, and then the tree fell over. But like I said, runtime about 20, maybe 25 minutes. Charge time sucks. So charging, it takes about 2 hours or so to charge both of these batteries up. And I'll pop up the model of the charger picture here. So as you can see, I think it's a 2 amp charge, which is not the greatest. I wish it was like a 4 amp. It would charge them a little faster. But it's all, you know, the chargers are to preserve the battery, so that way it doesn't get them too hot and it doesn't kill the cells and all that good stuff. So it's a very slow charge, about 2 hours, and you'll get about 20 to 25, maybe 30 minutes if you're easy with it. And for small stuff, it works perfect. You know, you could cut a ton of little small stuff. But when you, like I said, when you get to the bigger stuff like that, you're spending more time cutting the pieces down, and that is going to kill your like productivity and you know, your work time, and then you have to wait another 2 hours for it to charge, and that's the only sucky thing about it. So like I said, this is my sister's. I'm going to find her another bar. She's wanting to buy a bar. I told her not to worry about it. I will get one. But like I said, you see all this stuff. This is just what I cut today. I still have a bunch of little trees and stuff down there that I want to get. And then there's a few more bigger trees. And then this up here, we just walk up, and they were yesterday. And I cleaned a bunch out. And I still have a bunch more to trim. Like all these right here, I've got to cut them down and make them smaller, because I just lopped them off because the batteries were getting low. So I just lopped them off at the base, let them fall, and then went on to the next one, lop them off, let them fall, because my batteries were running low and I didn't have to wait 2 more hours, you know, for the charge to come back on the batteries. So that's what I've been doing. A lot of this stuff I've just been chopping them off down at the base, letting them fall over, go on to the next tree to get as many cuts as I can, you know, before the batteries die. And then I charge the batteries up. I'm out here pulling all the brush out and getting them, you know, into a kind of a pile. So that way I charge the batteries, then I can come up and start cutting these into smaller piece, like this big long piece right here. Cut it down smaller. There's some more over there, and there's some long ones in there. And that pile over there, there's some really long, you know, probably 30 feet long, but they're skinny, you know. So that's what I've been doing. And about 20-25 minutes. I wish they were longer, but the batteries for these are like $90 for the 4 amp hour or the 5 amp hour, or $100, and that's just one. I mean, I can understand, you know, a lot of people like the battery operated stuff, but if I had like a regular chainsaw, gas powered, I mean, I would be out here till, you know, I'd be getting more done with a gas powered, cutting a lot of, because there's a bunch of trees I need to cut. Actually chainsaw them. If I had gas, it would last longer. It wouldn't take, you know, 2 minutes, not even a minute, to fuel it back up, top the oil off, and then continue working. So I could have, you know, probably 10 times the amount of stuff cut in the time that I'm, you know, using this for about 20-25 minutes, 2 hours for the batteries. I could be cutting down, I'd have a mountain of stuff, because basically what I'm doing is I'm trimming around a lot of this brush and stuff all the way along here and all the way down, and then it goes down to a holler down there, and there's a ton of trees down there that I want to get, and some of these other bigger, semi-bigger trees I want to cut, and big pile of briars right there, you know, I want to cut that down. So I can understand the appeal of batteries, but I could buy a chainsaw. This was, I don't know how much she paid for this, she won't tell me, but I don't know, this is like $200 maybe, or something like that. I haven't looked it up. You know, another $100 or so, you know, if you buy the bigger batteries, and I'm just ranting here, so don't flame me or anything, but if I buy the bigger batteries, that's about $100, maybe $200 more. So for about, say, $400 or $500, I'd have a heck of a regular gas-powered chainsaw with a, you know, 18, 24-inch blade or 20-inch blade saw bar that I could cut and still be going. I mean, I could go out here all day with a tank full of gas and, you know, bar oil and stuff, and I could be out here all day and just lay everything down, and I would still have enough time in between while these are charging to cut all these pieces up into smaller pieces and stack them up into a pile and then keep cutting. I mean, just going and going and going. Now I understand this is like a home, you know, for trimming and stuff like that, but I mean, if you're going to use it in the real world, I mean, you figure if you work 8 hours a day, you get, say, 30 minutes, just say, of runtime. So 2.5 hours you're losing. And then after that 2.5 hours, you're another 30 minutes of work, another 2 hours. So 5 hours you're only getting, in an 8-hour day, you're only probably getting maybe an hour. I think my math is somewhere in there. An hour of cutting. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, if I was doing just a little clear up like I'm just doing clear up. I'm just cutting some of these smaller stuff and some of the semi-big stuff. But I mean, you're wasting so much time waiting on these charge. Now, of course, I could buy 2 more 2-amp-hour batteries and have them charge and swap them out, but that only gives me about 45-50 minutes maybe of working. But then I still have to wait another hour or so for the batteries, the first set of batteries, to charge up. So that's just my little rant. I mean, I'm not knocking. This thing has worked really great. The issue I've only had with it is sometimes the chain pops off the bar. Even with the original bar, when I first used it, I got 3 or 4 cuts in and the chain popped off. And it's very easy to put on. It's very easy to put on. It's going to be a little hard with one hand. But once you have the bar sitting in there, this thing just kind of centers itself. You don't have to do anything else to it. And then you tighten it up till it stops, get it good and tight, close the thing, and then you're ready to roll. So it's very easy to do that, but productivity is not the greatest if you're out here clearing stuff, which I thought it would be decent, but like I said, 20 minutes, 25, maybe 30 if you're easy with it. And don't force it into the wood, because, you know, when you're stressing the motor, you're going to pull more power from the batteries, and then you're going to kill the battery sooner. So if you let the bar just lay it on there and let it just cut down as it goes, let the chain do the work, you might get maybe 25-30 minutes. But anyway, that's my little rant about this thing. I mean, it's decent, it's cutting. If you have a sharp, keep your chain sharped, like I do about every day, every other day. I just put an edge on this thing, and it's really sharp. Top off the oil. Sorry, I didn't show you that. There's the motor. There's the oil compartment. It doesn't hold a whole lot, but you don't need a whole lot. Trigger, it's got a safety button right here before you can pull the trigger. This is your chain brake, and it works. So that's locked, that's unlocked, so the chain will go. So it's cutting, it's doing the job. It's just, you know, I'm old school. I'd rather have like a big chainsaw with like a 24 inch blade or bar on it, and just go to town cutting all this little stuff, because I'm losing so much productivity with using this until I get my little weed eater pole saw thing, because there's a lot of branches like this that I can easily reach up and get, which the chainsaw, excuse me, you can't cut them. You can't cut them holding it by your hand. So the pole saw works great for like hanging brushes, hanging limbs and things like that. But anyway, I like it. It works all right. It works fine. It cuts. If you have a bunch of little small stuff, you know, little small stuff to cut, you know, and if you only need 20-30 minutes of runtime with the small stuff, yeah, no problem. But if you're out here like actually cutting like good sized trees down like this sucker, and then there's a few more up there, you know, that I had to cut down because they're you know, they're probably 5, 6 inches wide. You're going to end your productivity on those. It's not made for like, you know, loggers and stuff like that are actually cutting trees and stuff down, because there's a couple of big trees that are probably 8 inches wide that I want to cut down with this, but I'm not cutting them down with this because it takes forever for the saw to actually go through the wood. And then by the time I've cut one, I think it's up there in that pile up there. There was one, it was probably a good 7 inches. And just sawing the tree at the base, I went through 2 bars, and it's got 5 bars. 5 bar. I went through 2 lights, 2 bars, and I had 3, and then I had maybe 15 minutes left to actually saw the, you know, in like 6, 7, 8 inch pieces, or 8 feet pieces, just so I can handle it. But then when I got to near the end of the tree, I didn't have enough juice to let it, so I was cutting these little limbs like this and these and stuff like that, just to save use what little bit of battery I had left, just to kind of chop it up. But I didn't get the whole tree, and it was probably 30 feet long. So yeah, I mean, it's doing it. If you have plenty of time, or you just need, you know, a small chainsaw for small stuff trimming, it's probably perfect. And I'm sure, you know, Project Farm has tested on these, and, you know, the Milwaukees and DeWalt's and what's the other ones he had? Ego and some other things. They all, Echo has one, you know, they all work great for what they are. But for, you're doing a lot of clearing, don't get one of these. Get a gas-powered chainsaw. And like I said, the price of this is like $200. It came with the batteries and the charger. I think it's about $200. And then I have to buy a new bar if I can find one, because all I can find now is 16 inch. And I don't want to have to buy a 16 inch, because then I have to buy a new chain, which, you know, is kind of a pain in the butt. But I'm going to keep looking and see if I can, like I said, if I can find the bar that has these same, you know, the slot in here and the holes, the same dimensions that this piece will fit on as in a 12 inch, then that's what I'll get. But a lot of manufacturers, they don't have the specifics of how wide this gap is and how big the holes are. They don't have that. They just say, oh, it's an 8 inch bar. There you go. That's all you need. So, but yeah, I'm gonna quit rambling on. This is my review of the Worx 40 volt, and I'll like I said, that's all it is. It's low whole motor use for small little branches and brush and things like that. It's not really meant for some of the stuff I'm cutting down. Some of the stuff are pretty big, and but anyway, I mean, it's getting the job done for what I need till I get my little piece from my pole saw. But it's getting the job done. I just wish the batteries would last longer, and you have to figure in the cost. Bigger batteries, you know, they have a fast charger. I don't know how much, I think it's like $100 and something. So if you get the fast charger, it'll charge them faster. But by the time you end up spending, you know, $200 for this, and then you buy the bigger batteries, which are, you know, about $100. They're like 5 amp hour. These are 2. So you buy them, they're about $100 a piece. That's $200. Plus this is $200. It's $400. You can buy a decent chainsaw for $400. Then if you buy the fast charger, I think it's like $130, $40 or something. You know, you're getting up to $500, $600 almost. You can buy a heck of a chainsaw for $600. So low home use only. Don't be cutting trees, big trees down with this thing. Just you know, for small little trees like that, you know, little branches and stuff like that, you know, little things like that, leave it for that, but don't use it for like actually cutting a tree down, because there was one tree in the front up there that I cut down, and I was, like I said, halfway sawing through it and it just quit. And then when I charged it and I came back out, the tree was like hanging down, and I had to keep sawing on the bottom of it, you know, sawing up to cut the piece off, where, because I had made it like a relief cut. So like on this tree, what I would do is I'd make a relief cut here about, you know, 3 or 4 inches in. I would cut in, and then I'd come on the back side, and this is where I would saw all the way through that little relief cut, and then that gives it just a little bit of a gap for the tree to fall over into without binding it up, or it leaves like a big chunk here and it just like pulls the whole bark off. That's what I always do, you know. And like a big tree like this, I would do the old, you know, triangle cut, of course, and then I would come in from the back side and cut it in on a big tree. But the little trees, I'm just raking a relief cut on one side and then sawing all the way through to the other side. So I'm going to quit rambling. That's it. I mean, it works, but it's very like home use only, nothing major. About 20-25 minutes of runtime, 2 hours to charge. It works for what it is.